Hi, my name is Cole Manus, and we're going to be talking about direct sales. So, direct sales is you're operating in a direct sales business model, which most of the time these products are going to be made from the company itself. Whereas in other companies, they have to rely on someone to provide or sell their products. Hence, in retail, you would ship off your T-shirts to a retail business, and then they would sell to the customers. Direct business, you cut out the middleman, sell directly to the customer. So the how. So when they operate in the direct business model, it allows them to cut down the retail and a lot of the times the advertising costs, which creates the value for the customers. They're allowed they can put all these savings back into the customer and the product, which also allows a much more personalized relationship. You're actually face to face. You're selling to your customer. You get to see exactly the reaction to your new ideas, giving them what they wanted, and so forth. So the flow chart for direct sales would be the product's made, the customer is contacted, the deal for the order is either made or not. If it is made, you're going to see if they're going to be a recurring customer. If yes, you got to go make another deal for another order. So some of these driving trends, the biggest one is definitely the pandemic. We couldn't really leave our house, couldn't do much. So this hindered a lot of this interpersonal communications, interpersonal activities such as direct selling. Other facets started to come out, such as like farmers markets, roadside farmers markets that sold like eggs and fruits. You just put your money in a basket nearby. But after the pandemic, a huge rise in people supporting small businesses started to happen, which is huge and very beneficial for a direct sell because you're actually communicating and interacting with your customers who want to then give back to you. Also, a huge rise of things on social media is direct sales through the internet, such as like TikTok Shop or Etsy. You'll be able to directly sell via your home to your customer through the internet. So some of the models that work well with direct selling is like e-commerce. So e-commerce, like we were just saying, some of those TikTok shops and Etsy's, being able to sell directly to your customer via online. Another one is like self-service. So a lot of times a vending machine is bought outright by one individual. He stocks it with his snacks, his drinks. You go and you self-serve by buying from the vending machine, but you're also buying directly from him. Just like said before, like those roadside farmers markets, that's also direct sales. You're buying directly from someone, just no face-to-face interpersonal communication. So Tupperware. So Tupperware, Earl Tupper began it pretty much through, he scanned his ecosystem, saw that there was this new thing called the refrigerator, and people are going to be able to eat the food that they made the night before. And they're going to be able to store it, and this is a whole new market for him to be able to tap into. So like I said, Earl Tupper was the founder. The lead sales was Brownie Wise. Tupperware became popular through the gathering of friends and family to sell the Tupperware in a thing called a Tupperware party. So the selling of the Tupperware through the Tupperware parties was a very direct form of selling to your friends, family, neighbors. It was all an experience that learned about Tupperware and it was all about selling Tupperware. And at the end of this night, someone else was going to be tasked, awarded, or raffled to host another Tupperware party. This was kind of a cascading effect, so it was a cascading effect of sales and advertisement. So that's kind of like where that value is brought back into it. So since they didn't have to sell, they didn't have to pay for the retail costs or the advertising costs, they were able to put all of that back into the product and back into the customer's experience. This also made it a very personal sale for the company. So you're face to face with your customer. You are selling. You're selling, and at this point, the salesman is your friend, your family, or your neighbor. So you have a lot of trust for that salesman. This would be a customized flow chart for Tupperware. So Tupperware, they gather their friends, they gather their family, they host a Tupperware party. They either make the sales or don't. They raffle off who's going to host the next one. They would either get all the inventory from the previous one, ship some more. They would prepare all their Tupperware to be sold. And then they would gather their friends, host the party, make the sales or not, do the raffle. It's a whole cascade. Excuse me. Some of the driving trends that are impacting Tupperware. So the invention of the refrigerator, obviously the biggest. It's really kind of what allows it to be a company, allows it to be an invention. But the size of the refrigerator was expanding rather quickly, which allowed more food to be held, more things of Tupperware to be in there. Therefore, more Tupperware to be bought, more Tupperware to be used. As well as a lot of the men were at war, which left a lot of the wives at home with more time to go to these parties, plan these parties, and sell the Tupperware. Some of the other models that work well with Tupperware is the peer-to-peer. I mean, they're strictly relying on their peers, friends, and family to sell to other peers. I mean, it is a reference. They're referring another person to do a party. So peer-to-peer would work very well. So in the generation of the new ideas, Earl Tupper gave Brownie Wise that lead sales position who came up with the Tupperware party, which was ultimately the breadwinner, the home run for Tupperware because other companies kind of latched onto this, and she was credited with the practice. Brownie Wise. Other companies such as Cutco, Mary Kay now use these practices. So they began to run the Tupperware parties, which were very successful, and they even started to become a common practice. So at this point, they were running all their Tupperware parties, and they were very successful. They even became the largest direct selling company ever. And Brownie Wise ended up being on the cover of Business Week magazine as the first woman to ever do it because of the success of her ideas with the company. So Cutco. So Cutco saw that there was a lack of top quality and well-engineered kitchen knives. So Cutco is an American-made company. It's made in Olean, New York. It's founded in 1949. It's known for their wedge lock handles as well as their double D recessed edges. They also make the K-bar knives for the military. So how? So Cutco relies on the references of friends and family to set up a meeting and demonstrate the quality of the knives. So this direct selling method, pretty much, it's you're cold calling friends and family in the beginning to set up a business meeting. From there, you show and demonstrate the quality of the knives, and they'll give you references of their friends, their family, their neighbors, who then you reach out to try to also demonstrate, and it's another cascade. So the value. So the retail and advertising costs for these companies are basically zero, which means they can put so much more of the value back into the company and back into the product. So you'll never see a Cutco knife in a retail store, and you're really never going to see any advertisements for Cutco because the advertisement is your friends and your family coming to tell you about it. So the Cutco offers a highly engineered knife with ergonomic wedge lock and a double D recessed cutting surface. Therefore, the cutting surface never truly makes contact with the cutting board, therefore always remains sharp. So this would be a flow chart. So the salesmen get trained. They cold call for references. They either do or do not get the reference. Therefore, they try to set up the meeting. They either do or do not set up the meeting. If they do set up the meeting, they go to the sales demonstration. They either do or do not make a sale. If they do make the sale, they gather the references and repeat the process. They start to make the meeting. They do or don't try to do the sales. They do or don't and gather the resources. So some of the driving trends. So there's been a large increase in cooking at home during the pandemic, mostly because we couldn't really leave our house to go get food or groceries. Therefore, we kind of were stuck at cooking at home. But another reason is inflation's really high. So even after the pandemic, people still began to cook at home because the inflation was high and they didn't have enough money to go eat out. So this is when people started to think, well, I will invest in my kitchen and I'll invest in my knives. If I'm going to be cooking at home, I want it to be easier, I want it to be better, and I want it to be cleaner. So many Americans have moved frequently and also have hectic lives. So a lot of the time when you're moving, there's knives that can be missing. There's knives that will get broken. And I know that I've used a knife as a screwdriver many times, pry bars. There's many other things that knives get used for that aren't what they're meant for. And Cutco takes that into account, and that's why they do a lifetime warranty. So that lifetime warranty is a huge drive within a modern day. Some of the other models that work well with Cutco is once again peer to peer. It's all relying on your peer giving references of peers, and it's a cascading effect. So peer to peer would work very well within the model of Cutco. So Cutco, they really thought that knives should be more ergonomic. They thought that knives should remain sharp. They didn't understand why knives needed to be sharpened every time, honed every time. So they kind of reinvented the knife with the double D edge and the ergonomic wedge lock. They also saw there was an oversaturation of kitchen knives at stores, so they didn't want to have to compete just eyes on the table of all these different types of knives. What they did was they went directly to the house and proved and showed you that these knives are better. These knives outperform the other knives. And in this way, they're able to show you they're better than their competitors without having to pay to compete with the competitors in store. So they continue to build consistency with their company through their morals. I mean, they make all of their knives with Americans in America, and they supply the U.S. military with the combat knives, all while supplying the public with absolutely phenomenally, almost over-engineered knives. So Cutco came out with the ergonomic wedge lock design in 1952, and very shortly after, they revolutionized cutlery with the double D edge. So the double D edge, it never dulls because it's never making contact with the cutting edge. The only thing it's cutting is the chicken, the broccoli, the food. The only time that the sharp part of the knife is touching anything is the thing that you want to be cut. So they revolutionized the knife and the cutlery industry with that alone. Some of the lessons I had learned and some of the ways I'm going to learn these lessons or use these lessons. So first off, direct selling can be a phenomenal way to cut costs on advertising and retail when you really truly know what the customer wants. And the power of referral is huge. So the power of referral, it really shows you that having someone that you trust and you know give a recommendation means a whole lot more than any commercial on cable television. It's a huge way to get directly into the heart of your customer before even showing the product. So some of the future lessons. So in my charter fishing business, the merchandise sales are so low that it almost doesn't make sense for me to pay a lot of these stores to hold on to my t-shirts, which the whole shipment might take a year and a half to sell. So I can cut all these advertising costs, a lot of these retail costs, with just advertising it myself to my customers after the charter visit and having it on hand. If they want to buy it, they can give me the $15 and I can give them the shirt. I don't have to pay the overhead for my shirts to be kept in retail. Another thing in the charter fishing is the word of mouth. And the power of reference is huge. Being able to hear a friend or a family or a neighbor tell a friend or family or neighbor that your charter business is the one to go to is critical because they're not hearing it from a stranger. They're not hearing it from the business on a commercial. They're hearing it from a friend. So it is truly taken to heart and it's much more believable. And references, the power of a reference is massive. It's better than any commercial you would ever be able to put out. So a quiz question is, when was Cutco founded? 1949. Who's the founder of Tupperware? Earl Tupper. Who is the lead sale for Tupperware? Brownie Wise. Some of the references. And I appreciate you for sticking with me and watching through the presentation.